Five, where we can come in.
It's a little blue line.
All right, welcome. Good evening, everybody. Today is the Thursday, January 20. We good? Not yet?
Well,
I don't think we, I can see eyes that light up.
I see.
I think it's always a little bit of a delay when you watch it on.
Hold on, I gotta start this again.
I think they can miss it's not officially
You can just go ahead and I'll fiddle with it if you want.
I'm just saying people can miss the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm not gonna break anything.
You say that now.
Got it later.
Oh, no, then there's
And
a very good
email.
Facebook
You look to see if it's on YouTube ever.
on YouTube.
Yeah. It says it's going, but I'll double check. You can get that stuff.
Some young idiot.
No,
Yeah, we're
something.
live.
Yep, we're here.
Okay, thanks.
It's not the most flattering lighting. I'll just make that. Nah, this is not good. Yeah, we gotta work on the lighting and the sound, but lighting first. You gotta beauty before. All right, I'll restart. Welcome, everybody. It's Thursday, January 25th. This is the regular meeting of the Nyack Village Board. Would you please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you all for being here. If you look on your agenda, there's one change, I think, from the agenda that was most recently published is that we do have a resolution regarding the Nyack tourism grants that's going to be made by Tomas Schneck from the Visit Nyack. He's also going to do a presentation where he goes over some of the grants, tells us a little bit about them. We'll be doing that before we get to resolutions. We're going to start as we've changed some. If you haven't been to, if you were in our last meeting 2 weeks ago, we made some small changes to the format of the meeting, and we're starting. We're gonna start with just some comments from the board, and then we'll go right to a public comment on any issue that anyone would like to bring up to us and to the public. So we'll start. I'll just start with my left, Natalie. Anything at all? If there's nothing, you can wait till the end and make comments at the end.
Wait till the end.
You'll defer. Joe.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I joined many people last Monday at the MLK commemorative meeting at the Pilgrim Baptist Church. It was quite a sight. A lot of people, music, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to join everybody. And that's it.
Yeah, the MLK service was really nice. Thank you to all the organizers and NAACP, Pilgrim Baptist, and also Mary White was here from the choir. Yeah, I'm gonna shout you out.
Oh, yeah.
The choir was fantastic. Andy and I had spoken a little bit earlier, but I did want to mention that the African American Day Parade Committee met yesterday, so we have a date locked in and a rain date, and Andy and I will follow up more for that, and then there's also a couple of folks here from the committee who may speak on it.
Okay.
But just wanted to let you guys know that it was a good meeting, very productive, and hopefully the parade kicks off really nice this year.
Okay, I wanted to just say how excited I am, and I'm very grateful for all the work that was done by Tomas at Visit Nyack, as well as the members of the Nyack Business Council who met to review in December and then more in depth in January applications for grants from the village that are part of our tourism grant program that comes from the hotel tax that we instituted last year. We were able to fund all of the applicants. They were all worthy. They were all really tremendous, all really well done. And the whole process ran very smoothly thanks to Tomas. And I'm very appreciative of that. And he's going to come up in a few minutes and give us an overview of the projects that are going to be funded. I also want to, there are probably some people here for it, and we'll get to it later in the program, about creating kind of an ad hoc committee to reestablish First Night in Nyack for on New Year's Eve. It used to be a tradition here in the village to do a series of events on New Year's Eve, which sounds like it was a lot. I never attended it. It overlapped my time, but it was lovely. Oh, you are
Yep, I'm Nadia Warner
nodding. Thank you. And we have some people here that would like to rejuvenate that and get it started. And unlike most of the things that we do in Nyack, we're actually starting something in January that we're not going to actually need to get done for 11 months. Usually this starts getting discussed around Thanksgiving time is when we start discussing first night, but we're doing it well in advance. So I'm very grateful for them. I look forward to hearing about getting something started. I think I want to let you all know, today we have a resolution to make final approval of the 2030 Nyack 2030 Climate Action Plan. This Saturday at 1 o'clock, I will be a guest with Steve Sia and Marcy Denker, who are really the people that, not really, they are the people who got this done. And I'm tagging along as mayor to appear with Lou Young on WRCR's AM 1700 this Saturday at 1 o'clock. It's going to be scintillating radio. I know you're not going to want to miss it. I want to make sure that I plug it. And then the one thing I really wanted to make sure that we mentioned today, because we had people came last week and were very concerned with regard to the ETPA and how it interacted with the housing that is largely Section 8 based. We have a couple of buildings in Nyack that are like that. We've had Rockland Gardens, Tallman, and Plaza. And and they were concerned that were the Section 8 programs that are using those buildings, whether they were on a contract that was going to be ending. There was rumors that I think Rockland Gardens had changed hands, and because it had changed hands, would the program be ending? We have since, Andy Stewart, the village administrator, and I have had conversations with the people that run Rockland Gardens, Tallman, and the Plaza, and have confirmed with all of them that all of those Section 8 programs are going to continue for years to come. I think the contract, I have a note here, the contract of Rockland Gardens runs to another 28 years or something like that. And we got the same information back from Tallman and Plaza. So that was very good news. I want to make sure that we said we would talk about it in 2 weeks. I want to make sure I got right up front if anyone's concerned about that. If they have more concerns, they can follow up with us after the meeting. But we did get assurances from them that was going to continue. Those programs are going to continue until the long foreseeable future. All right, that's all I have. I did now want to open it up. Now we're doing public comment a little differently than we used to do. It's a public comment on any issue. What I would say to you is if it's a public comment on an agenda item, we will allow public comment when we discuss those agenda items. So you might want to hold the public comment until because then you'll discuss it and we'll discuss it and we can have a conversation about it. But if you have a public comment on something that's not on the agenda, please come up and you have 3 minutes to make the public comments, and we might take it up later on in the meeting. Please.
Just three? No,
3 minutes. Public comments only 3
I'll
minutes.
even take three.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Can you state your name and
Mary White, former village clerk. I'm here because I am also on the committee for the African American Day. I know that there was some discussion about what the date would be. Back in 2014 or 15, there was a resolution that named the first Saturday of every June as African American Day and the second Saturday as the Rain Day. So Andy Stewart, I'd like to meet with you. I know the park is in renovation mode, and we probably won't have the same footprint for the festival after the parade. So I wanted to discuss with Andy, what the logistics might be for that.
Good, let's schedule that.
aren't those the dates that we either approve them or we discuss them?
They were discussed, but we'll do the resolution for next week. And if there's an existing resolution, if we can find it.
Okay.
I think it is important that we talk about it because things do change year to year,
Yeah, I know the route, based on the meeting last night, the route has changed from what it was. I'm the vendor coordinator, and last year we had about 50 vendors down on the field, So I know that's gotta change this year. So I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.
See, not even 3 minutes.
Good enough. I think you can stand there silently for 2 more minutes if you like. Just You're entitled to your 3, you might as well use it. I actually think, I really do think that we're gonna have a lot of success with the upper lawn. Because we're doing a lot of events, there's a lot of things that we won't be able to do with the lower lawn because of the reseeding,
Right.
including your event. But I think we can, the upper lawn is bigger than you think it is. But also I think because we're closing streets anyway, closing that block of Piermont Avenue, I think is gonna add a lot of space because that's it's a two lane with parking on one side. So it's really 3 lanes, that the road goes out. So there's a lot of space there to put
The
vendors.
closure would be Depew to Hudson?
Probably, is that Hudson that's or
Yeah.
Depew to, okay. Yeah, it certainly would be the part that is adjacent to the park. So I don't know I forget what's
It's
the,
Depew to Hudson.
is that Hudson that's right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. that's what we're-
Okay.
The other question regarding that, where we can discuss, is the little piece of road that goes down into the park
Yes,
before the gate.
Yeah.
Cause I have a lot of food trucks
yep.
and that would take up those spaces there.
We're 100% behind trying to accommodate everything that you need. And we're sorry that we can't use the lower lawn, just that we need to get it.
But all things are for good, all right?
It'll be that much better next year in
That's it.
25.
Okay,
Any other public comments on
my
any?
3 minutes are done?
Oh, go ahead.
Everybody will get a chance, so whoever wants to go next.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to, Andre DeVito, 26 Bird Street. I just wanted to follow up on the email that I had sent this week pertaining to the constant late night traffic going into the marina parking lot. The backfiring mufflers, the modified mufflers, the people screaming out of their cars, the loud music, the constant cars racing up the block, gunning it up the block. I mean, I think after 10 o'clock at night until 2 in the morning it's just consideration for people that live in that area to be quiet. So I'm just looking for some type of help with it. I have gone to Orangetown to the Traffic Advisory Committee, and they advised me that they don't help the Village of Nyack. It's not part of their jurisdiction, I guess. They said if someone called them from the village that they would be able to speak to them. So hopefully maybe somebody can call them and we can meet with them. I mean, speed bumps, we've called OPD, we constantly call them, but it's like a cat and mouse game. You know, they come in, they chase the cars out, the cars know, they go back in, they circle around. It's constant and it's been constant. So I'm just looking for help, another meeting maybe with condo. I know Adele sent me an email as well. I know Jim from Piermont Wilcox would come to the meeting. Anything?
I'm sorry you're still going through this. You've been coming for a couple of years now
Yeah.
with these, and we've made a lot of changes down at the park. I think we changed the
The
time.
time to 12 o'clock.
We closed it down earlier.
Mhm.
We added lighting. Is
There's no
lighting,
lighting in the
has
back.
lighting
of
been
that
added or
lot,
has it been?
so.
A couple of lights aren't working right because they got
Yeah.
hit by trucks, but they will be eventually.
We put in lighting and the lighting got hit by trucks. Okay, but I think we're all sympathetic to your situation and really outraged, maybe a little too strong, irritated, it's not strong enough, but there's something between area about what these people are doing down there. Like, it really bothers me that people
And not only
go
that.
down, they're not local, they're going down, they're using the park as it's dark and they can drive around, and it's just not, it just bothers the heck out of me, and I'm
Well,
sorry to
even
go
if you
through
go
it.
down in the morning, I mean, the trash down there is horrible, and if you go up by where that graffiti wall is in front of that house, there's so much trash in there. I've cleaned it up 2 years in a row in the cleanup Rockland. I mean, it's disgusting.
Is it only weekends or weekdays?
I would say Wednesdays and Sunday nights are the worst nights.
Wednesday night?
Wednesday night and Sunday night, if you go down there, it is a constant.
So not Friday and Saturday night?
Friday and Saturday night is busy. Wednesday and Sunday seem to be like the nights of the week.
That's when the restaurants are not, most people at the restaurants.
Yeah, but why would Wednesday night, why would people be out Wednesday night? At least people work in the morning, they have to get up, I guess. Probably not.
I know I
Even if
do.
they don't, I do. Thank you for raising this again.
Yeah, I mean-
We got your emails. We actually had a whole text
Yeah,
chain
I
going about
appreciate
it, where we did talk about,
I know Adele
possibility to
wants
speed
get
bump.
involved too.
well, I'll talk to Adele. I know Adele from when I lived
Yeah.
in Claremont. And this didn't happen. I mean, I lived down there. And I don't remember any of this happening when I lived down there from 09 to 15.
When I first moved down there in 2019, it wasn't like that at all. Once they built the bridge over from the park to the parking lot and they closed the other street down, it's just become more and more. And I think after COVID, a lot of people were just hanging out down there and it became a real hangout and everyone knew they could go down there. So it just didn't stop. It just continued and it's just gotten worse.
Well, okay.
Could we possibly shut that road down or partially, that like corner part down?
No, well, you can't shut down the road because that's the road to the driveway for the Claremont. So the bird beyond
Yeah,
Yeah. it
that
goes
little
into the
block,
parking lot.
when you get past the seaport, you need to go to.
yeah, you have to go down.
You can, I mean, we could put chains up at the
Marina Park.
Marina parking lot. The problem is that it's, people, we want people to park down there, we want them to park down there to use the restaurants and stuff. And there's a lot of parking that's useful parking.
But how
Um,
many people are using it for the restaurants? I
We
mean,
don't- I don't know, but the idea of closing off all the parking spaces, like, and
at 10 o'clock at night?
I mean, that's when people would be going to get their cars after dinner. I mean, it's possible. We could think about it. We could go look, see how much use it's getting at night. And we gotta think about the other possibilities. I just wish, I mean, it's really it's a terrible thing and I'm sorry that you're going through it. And it's just, a lot of it's, we don't enforce the traffic laws. So that's the challenge, is that we don't really have authority to be able to, for the mufflers or for the
Can they
speeding and
put
stuff
like
like
a
that.
noise camera down there like they have in the city now? Even Tarrytown, I heard, is enforcing everything more with all the modified mufflers. And there's gotta be
We're
something.
looking at the noise ordinance generally, so we'll take a look at that with the noise ordinance, about whether we can modify the noise ordinance to cover it.
Right,
What about the video surveillance, video cameras, and signage? This area is under video, surveillance. I mean, maybe that will be deter them somewhat. Maybe just with the signs up or not.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We could think about, just video would probably dissuade some stuff going on. Just knowing that you're being videotaped. We'll talk to Dominic, see if Dominic will add some cameras for us.
anytime you wanna meet, I'm available.
Okay. We're in touch. We appreciate you.
Yeah. you know how
We
to get-
appreciate you standing up for the people that live down there and you're the person that comes. to
Yeah,
us.
and no one comes, it's okay.
We appreciate- You do a nice job of advocating for them. All right, we had somebody else for public comment in the fourth row. Any other public comment? I thought she wanted, but okay.
Oh, no, I'm here.
Okay. I thought you were waiting to go.
Mary, thank you.
Taylor.
Taylor Mandelbaum, 19 Dixon Avenue. I'm not saying a thing I say all the time because it's getting old. Two things I wanted to bring up. I actually, I was walking around the village after we had a few small storms. And I know that, residents are usually responsible for the sidewalks in front of their house. I know that there's been a few Facebook debates, what I've seen about people and Bluestone being maintained and stuff, but I actually wanted to posit like an idea that might be worth looking into or might be useless. I don't know. I don't know the legalities of things. So, would it be a valuable service for folks who either can afford it, might not necessarily have the ability due to just being less able as individuals, or whether it's they can't afford to do it for whatever reason, have DPW provide a service for cleaning the sidewalks that residents could access for either a fee or potentially if they aren't able, they or have
Talking
financial.
about cleaning or talking about repairing?
Cleaning.
The cleaning like after a snowstorm?
Yeah. So the idea basically is, and I actually just came back from Boston yesterday and the sidewalks aren't that great there either. So this isn't like a Nyack specific thing.
Go to the city, same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of just the way it is. But I thought, we have DPW. It might be interesting if we could potentially have a small revenue base. We can potentially get some revenue while also maintaining the sidewalks. Make the residents aware of the service so that we can keep the sidewalks clean safe as well, so people can walk and gives people just, it kind of, I feel like in my head, it's a win-win and I couldn't see any downsides to it. So I wanted to just throw that out there as my first thing. If you wanna, I don't know.
No, go ahead, do your second.
The second thing is, I just wanted to know if there was any updates for the vacancy study for EDPA or if anything has moved since the previous meeting.
We're gonna get an update during legal or during the admin on the ETPA? We'll get, yeah, we'll have an update when we get to the departmental reports. That'll be part of the update.
I gotta run, rushing up here, but
Text me and I'll give you the update.
I appreciate it, but yeah.
As to the first point, was it you and I that were talking about it? That there's a, I mean, there is a way you could do this. The default setting is that people are responsible for their sidewalk.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you have to raise taxes because if we have that DPW do every sidewalk, that costs money and then, you know, then everyone's gonna have to pay. But what was it? You know, who was I talking to about it? That there is I mean, there are places that put in like a surcharge. It's not tax, it's a surcharge, and the village does do the snow cleanup.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't you? Okay, but I figured,
The little machines, you know, that are sidewalk sized.
Are you talking about snow?
you're talking about snow.
Snow, ice, even, I mean, that's my first thought. Maybe
Okay.
there's other thoughts that can.
Not littering.
Maybe, but more so like during winter events, I'm thinking more safety and people just not being able to clean the sidewalks. That there could be a way that the DPW can do it for them.
I think the challenge with the thing you propose is that it would be very challenging for the DPW to do it on this house, that house, and then that house over there, as opposed to like, we're gonna do the whole block, we do the whole, you know, you do the whole street, it's a lot. You know, you do a street, they can stop, and when you go around, like, do they not do the one that's in front of them because the person didn't? It's like you have to do all or nothing on that, but
Because I'm in the corner of the village, that's what they do.
do it all or nothing, but it is we have talked a lot, we've had a lot of sidewalk issues with the repair of the sidewalks, where we've
Yeah.
talked about, do we want to shift the responsibility in some way, or do we want to incentivize people to fix their sidewalks? And I think the sidewalk, you know, you did see a lot of, with the snowstorm, you do see a lot of, especially a snowstorm like this, where there was a snow, then there was a freeze,
Yeah,
and then if you didn't clear the snow, you had ice there for 4 days.
exactly.
Until like, what, yesterday, I think it finally cleared.
Yeah, I think it's hard to clean.
And I will say this, I thought DPW did an awesome job, not just with the streets, but with the sidewalks, because front of the village hall, perfect, down by the park on Piermont Avenue, perfect along the upper level of the park. So they did a great job of it. So your point is taken that they do a really nice job. And so like the question is, do we then put a surcharge on and just do all the sidewalks so people don't have to do it for themselves?
Yeah, more of a service than anything that could be potentially a revenue
Sidewalks,
generator.
that's the problem.
Just a little concerned about.
A lot of sidewalks.
It's a lot of sidewalks, yeah, it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, you and I will pitch in.
That's my concern, is that I was under the impression that DPW is already understaffed, so my concern is that there's more burden on a less group of people, and either it's not gonna get done, or it's not gonna get done to the quality we want it to get done, on top of the fact that they are also cleaning the streets.
Yeah.
It would be
Yeah, it's kind of a
it's a lot of
big
money
ask.
that we'd have,
Yeah.
I mean, that we would have to do that. All right, thank you for.
But, I mean, it's a good thought.
It's not it's easy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Anybody else for public comment? You will have an opportunity for public comment during any of the agenda items when we get to it, if you want to wait for the agenda item. Or go
I'd
ahead.
like to comment on what Taylor said.
Please stand up and take the next one.
Nadia Weaver. I want to comment on what Taylor said. We have the NIAC neighbors, you know, the app, the neighbor app.
The neighborhood app.
Okay. Next door. Next door.
Oh, next door,
Thank you very
gosh,
much.
okay,
Where we could ask people to help other people.
that's true.
And-
That's true. We could create a group of like,
Yeah,
can we get some volunteers to do, and they just post your address and the volunteers will do it.
When it snows bad, I mean, my neighbors on Third Avenue, we always like, sometimes people.
yeah, it's
do each
a
other
community,
exercise.
people helping each
We're there,
other.
yeah.
I vote for that.
I finally got my snow blowers back from repair 2 months, right? So I was praying there wouldn't be a heavy snow.
I used to be the snow blower.
I just got it back today, but when there's a big snow and some other people have snow blowers, we actually go up and down on the sidewalk.
That's what I'm saying. And if we just let other people know that, well, I can let people know that I'm sick today and I can't do it. And there's a place I can go and get some help.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you for that. All right, we'll have other opportunities for public comment during the discussion of the agenda items and at the end of the meeting. Adoption of the minutes. The minutes, this would be for January 11th meeting. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes? Second, you got that? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh. Ayes carried. If there was any discussion, I'm sorry if I cut it off. Let's go on to the action items. We will go one at a time. The first is resolution 13, a resolution of the Nyack Village Board accepting the audited voucher summary. The audited voucher summary is available if you wish to look at it. It's available online, on the meeting page of Nyack. Can I get a motion to accept the audited voucher summary?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next resolution, number 14, to approve the closure of Depew Avenue for the annual Back to School Barbecue. This will be on Sunday, August 25th. It's at the Depew Avenue from Liberty to South Franklin. The labor cost was covered by the village. It's a village-sponsored event. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? It's a great event. I'm glad we can be a part of it. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 15 to adopt the Nyack 2030 Climate Action Plan. This was developed with extensive input from community and stakeholder committees. We've had presentations on it a bunch of times. We had Steve and Marcy here last week to talk a little bit about it. While we also had the presentation by the tree committee. And it's been on the website. We've had public comment on it. It's gone through a bunch of different revolutions. So can I get a motion?
Motion.
Any discussion?
I understand there's a public meeting or a workshop at on February 7th at Nyack Center between 7 and 9. Basically, I understand to go over the various aspects of it for the community.
Yep. It's at the dates, the right date?
Right date and time. It's sort of an open house, where people would come and ask questions and get input. It's gonna be a great event. There'll be raffles and refreshments.
And we'll be promoting that event this Saturday on WRCR. So great. With Lou Young. Well, I'll be with you and Marcy, and you have to do all the talking, because if he asks me a question, I say, Marcy, what do you think about that? Because you guys know that thing
Well,
left and
don't
right.
sleep on WRCR. More people listen to that than.
I'm not, what am I saying? I'm actually,
It's also a podcast.
WRC, I'm gonna work on my radio voice, to be on the radio. All right, any other discussion? All right, wonderful job, really a tremendous job done by everybody involved, particularly Steve and Marcy. But everybody who worked on it did great work.
Very comprehensive.
Yeah. Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2416, a resolution to approve a permit application for an event in Memorial Park by Andy Minifield. This is for a Native American gathering on Saturday, June 29th. Can I get a motion? Joe was the second. We talked about this last week. Andy was here. I guess we fixed a date. He's aware that.
We'd
this is
like
the upper
to add
limit.
a rain date, if it's okay.
Sure.
Which works by Saturday the 13th, which is 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later. All right. So Saturday, June 13th is a rain date.
Right.
We'll add that to the resolution. Okay.
Saturday is the event, and 2 weeks later is the rain day.
2 days, 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later.
2 weeks later. 2 weeks later. Well, they don't want to do it the next Saturday because it's the middle of 4th of July weekend.
He may be back with further requests, for example, it depends on how he builds up his event.
Okay.
We're
Plenty
like,
of time.
yeah,
Here's somebody else who's planning way ahead, unlike the way we usually run things. And we've been good this year. We got the 4th of July done. We got that approved last week.
that needs to be approved because they make those plans way ahead of those companies.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2417. Resolution to approve the street closure for the annual fire department memorial procession. That's on the morning, every year at the morning of June 9th. They start a new street, they go down and they go up Main, they go down Midland, and then they go up to the memorial at Oak Hill Cemetery. It's a we should be doing more to promote as we get closer to June, because it's a lovely event. Can I get the motion on the table?
Second.
Any further discussion?
What time does it normally begin?
Around eight,
Early, yeah.
around eight.
9 a.m.?
I said around eight.
Around 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, it's unfortunate because they don't do anything to promote it, like to let people know. And I think people would come out to,
It used to be
it's scintillating. It's beautiful. They go, well, they got the
It's
trucks.
a
They got
really
people.
big thing when I was a kid, like.
Is that right to go?
Yeah, I remember being on Main Street watching the parade.
Well, let's try to remember as we get to May to get, it'd be nice for people to come out. And I think it's is that the same day as
Right.
as Pride, it's the same day as Pride. So we close the streets and we just kind of leave them
Yeah.
closed after that. But they deserve our support. They do, you know, we are very well served by the fire departments. And it's a beautiful ceremony they do then up at Oak Hill. What was something I wanted to add about that? But it's actually good that, because I think in the past, they haven't always come to us and we haven't always had a resolution
Right.
to close the street. So I'm glad that we actually are doing it the right way this year. All right, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. 2418, approving, I'm sorry, somebody, approving the appointment of Elizabeth Turk to the Board of Water Commissioners. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Just discussion. I think this was Elizabeth, we had not had somebody on the water board who lived in this particular area of the service area for the water.
She's already on the board. She filled a vacant position,
Oh,
and this is a renewal for her.
okay, all right. Any comment, questions?
We never had anyone who lived in like Nyack.
I know, I think there,
Oh.
no, I think where does she,
The village board recently amended the code so that people who live outside the village of Nyack but inside the water district, i.e. central Nyack, could serve on the board.
Oh.
And so when a vacancy comes up, you can consider.
Oh, but I thought that's what this was. No, that's not this.
No.
But I think we're saying the next
Right.
appointment to the board that we have a vacancy, an actual vacancy, that we're looking, trying to get somebody who's outside the village, but inside the water district area,
Right.
because they they deserve representation on the, because they're serviced by the water district. All right, any further comment?
I have a question.
Sure.
What is the relationship between the village board, the village of Nyack, and the Nyack Water Board? What kind of oversight do we have on them, or will we just appoint the people on their board and would it run with it, or is there some type of
There's more to it than that. So the main bullet points are your board appoints their board.
okay,
All the employees of the water department are village staff and subject to our collective bargaining agreement and services from the clerk's office and others as far as personnel matters go. They're funded entirely by ratepayers, so their budget is separate from the general fund. They pay into the general fund for the shared cost of maintaining this building and some other things, so IT, insurance, cleaning and things like that. That number comes into the general fund. They have their own lawyer who serves that board. And the chain of command is basically from that board to the superintendent to the staff, with the village manager intervening and supporting as the.
what about capital expenditures, rate setting? And
So they've raised the rates recently because they have financial need. So the water commission makes decisions about any of those features, the hiring and firing of people, the setting of the rates. The financial connection back to the village budget is seen when they have capital projects, where the village is involved with the bonding and sort of backstopping their budget essentially.
But we don't have any veto power over their capital expenditures, or do we?
Well, if you have to do a resolution for a bond and you don't want to do that, that would essentially be a veto.
Their bonding has to get, we have to do their bonding for them.
Right. I mean, that's the way it has been done. I'm not sure there's an end run that they can do on that. Do you know?
We can't, no. technically they're a department within the village, so the oversight, the bonding, all that stuff is still controlled by you guys.
But on a day-to-day basis, they run it, you know, and with some involvement by the village
Yeah,
administrator.
and we work together. The DPW and the water department share vehicles and equipment and help each other out in times of need. We all work on things together essentially.
Like water main breaks, so
Water main breaks, that's a water department thing. But oftentimes we're out there with the DPW as well because they need to dig up part of a street or something. But the DPW finds an issue and it turns out it's a water department, so we call the water department and they do some investigations around that.
why isn't the village more involved in, for instance, setting rates? Do you look at their budget, you look at their revenue and expenditures and get your approval for rate changes and so forth?
Well, no municipality does that. Isn't that through PSC?
No, they're not subject to the Public Service Commission.
Okay.
But I mean, we do, it's more of a support and sort of intervention process, like they're in charge of their budget on a daily basis as far as their spending goes and tracking that. Jen has visibility into that at a certain level, but not like 100%, right?
Well, I can see 100%.
You see everything, okay? So we get in there and use our elbows a little bit when we think that they need to raise their rates. Basically, which they have had to do,
But they make the decision.
right?
And they implement it.
Yeah,
And we don't approve rate changes by resolution or anything like
no,
that.
that's the Board of Water Commissioners.
We just approve the any kind of bond expenditure,
Yeah.
capital expenditure.
And the two other things that Brett mentioning is, we essentially have an engineering company, which is virtually embedded there, H2M. The water treatment process is it's a very science and engineering based practice. So that company comes to a lot of the Board of Water Commissioner meetings and advises in detail on many operational aspects, as well as the Rockland County Department of Health, which also it's our most immediate regulator. And for example, when they do a water main project and they have to get permits from the water department, from the, like the engineers will set it up and the health department oversees it and approves those plans before they can be built and then bonded and go out to bid and so.
I had the opportunity to go last year and tour the facility, so I recommend.
Yeah, we should set another.
I was there, I toured, got the whole skinny on everything that's happening there. They showed me some of the pumps that need to be replaced. And actually some of the equipment in the lab I used to sell that equipment years ago. So I pretty much know how they do the testing and so forth. But yeah, it's pretty impressive, let me tell you. I mean, from the old Hackensack River, I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah.
Anything else? I think we're still talking about the appointment, so any further question about the appointment, comment? All in favor of the appointment? All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations to Ms. Turk. One more before we get to the tourism grants, resolution approving renewal of our agreement with Munistat for financial advisory services. This authorizes the village administrator to execute an agreement with Munistat. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Discussion. Andy, you want to just quickly explain? Or Jen?
Yeah, they provide the work that enables us to bond for projects, essentially.
And this is a continuation of the relationship we already have.
Yeah,
How many years have you worked with them?
Long before I got here, and I've been here 8 years.
Are you happy with them?
Yeah, they're awesome.
Any questions? All right, all in favor? Motion 19 passes. Motion 20, the final resolution, or resolution 20, the final resolution of the evening. It's to approve the funding of Nyack Tourism Grant Projects. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Discussion. The reminder, this is funded. These are tourism grants. They're designed to try to expand tourism within the village. It's supposed to help the general business climate of the village. The money for it comes from a hotel bed tax that we started back in January of 2023. Half of that revenue is allocated and earmarked toward tourism grants, or not necessarily tourism grants, but tourism in general has to be spent on tourism. we are putting them, at this point so far, we've put that money solely into tourism grants. And there's a small administrative cost that we have with it. The tourism grant process is managed by Visit Nyack. So we did get, once you come up, we had applications in the fall, or in the summer, which we then, they were all events that took place in the fall. We then got another series of applications that came in that we then reviewed in December and January. They were reviewed by the Nyack Business Council, who makes recommendations to us, but then we make the final decision on what to approve and how much. So Tomas, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. So I want to give an overview about the 2024 grant proposal. Before I do that, because some of you have been involved with the first grant round, which we had a couple of months ago. And so I just want to give you a quick update on the outcome of that, because I think it was a really good outcome and really brought a lot of good events forward. So this was the overview of the different events which were sponsored. In total, there were $26,850 spent. And here you can see the individual events. And I'm not going to go into all details right now. In the summary, I just want to give you a couple of highlights. So ArtSwap did this great event at the First Reformed Church with the harpist Bridget Hibby. She's kind of known as the Yo-Yo Ma of the harp. And so this was a wonderful experience. You see a picture down in the lower right corner, and they had 300 people there, which was, sorry, 107 people there. And there will be a second event in February, which also is part of the grant, which is the Viola da Gamba Quartet, and they will also come into the First Reformed Church. And so, again, I think two very nice events which are planned or which have been executed already. Something which was very successful is what was put on by the Wardrobe Archivists. This is primarily Laura Graham with a couple of other shop owners here in town, and really put Nyack on the map when it comes to vintage shopping, secondhand shopping. That's a big thing. We compete with some other villages around the Hudson Valley for that spot. And by doing this, this was really something to create awareness that we have a very good collection of shops who have good vintage offerings. And so there were ultimately 70 participants for the first round of people who walked around Nyack. And then she did a second one in November, which also was a good success. And you can see all the different businesses who participated. And so there was a $1,500 award to get that off the ground. What's really nice about that, we have now a map. You can see on the right side, it actually lives on the Visit Nyack website. So people can always download. It's an evergreen. People can really figure out where they can go for vintage shopping, and just figure out that map and follow and go to these different.
Just to make one point, the grants are all have to be spent on marketing.
Yeah.
So the idea is that every dollar they spend markets the village and markets the event, but by marketing the event, they're also marketing the village. It doesn't get spent on any of their internal costs or anything like that. It all has to be validated and verified that they're spending it on marketing. And I particularly love the thrift event, because it really was one of these events that was developed organically by businesses to work together. One of the hard parts that I think in the last 3 years that I've discovered working with the business council is trying to get businesses to work together to do stuff. They are good at doing their own thing, and then when you try to pull them together it's very tough. And this is one of those things where they actually did it on their own, and they came up with this idea, and they all compete with each other in the same space, but they came up with this idea to bring people to the village to rise all their boats, which they did. And there's gonna be a couple more coming up in the spring.
And they included not just stores on the retail side, they included restaurants, and so it was not just on the vintage retail side, but it lifted a couple of other boats as well. Yeah, then you also approved an award, a grant for the Phoenix Festival to sponsor that. That was the second time they did this last year in the fall of 23. Overall, a very big success. They sold over 1,200 tickets. Hopefully you saw some of the performances. So the big difference was with this event that it was not just in Upper Nyack and Merridale, but it was all kinds of very unique stages around Nyack. So Nyack became the stage for those performances. And so they did a wonderful job, and they will be back again in 24, probably even bigger.
Well, it was almost twice as big this year as it was last year, so it's good.
Then something also which started already back in 22, and the idea of this grant was to expand on this in 23, which is called the Spirit of Nyack, which is kind of the baby of Mark Mangan. It started out in 22 in South Nyack, and the idea was to expand that, and they really executed nicely on that. So the event was held on October 6th in the evening. It was really kind of the kickoff for the whole Halloween season last year in 23. It was a psychic themed night market. We had a Harry Potter themed event at Moore's Kitchen. DJ Morgana was entertaining. And the nice expansion was that other shops in town, like the optical shop, the Glitter Thicket store, and some others were participating as well. So it went beyond South Broadway and brought more people, more part of the village into this idea. And down there on the right side, there was just an image of that event. I went there as well, and it was a really very magical atmosphere there. And I saw a lot of families I normally don't see at those events who came out for that. So it really brought new people into the village. So that was very nice to see. Then also something which I appreciate being from Bavaria, it's the Blocktoberfest, which is something the local put on September 30th. It was really a great family event. It's a mixture between, DJ, food, beer. If you ever want to have some fun, do exactly what these guys are doing, take a stein, fill it up with water, and try to hold it as long as you can. And so this was their competition. So
That's fun. That's fun to you.
It's Bavarian fun. So, so I think again, they had 600 people there. It was amazing how the local turned out the people, with a small marketing budget. So it was great. Then Hotel Nyack, they launched just towards the end of the year a 6 months marketing campaign. They call it the Experience Nyack package. And the idea is to, on one side, obviously promote the hotel, but then also package this up with all the other attractions we have here in Nyack. So the Hopper House, Black Parakeets, then the cheese place. So they really promote other businesses in town and say, if you come to Nyack, first of all, that's a great place to stay, the hotel, but then, you can book through us, through this package, other things which we have here in Nyack. So again, one of those ideas is to bring different businesses together and really make it an experience. So if you think of tourism, creating experiences is really the thing. You cannot just say, well, go to this Hopper House or go to this restaurant. People don't book like that anymore. They really want to make it a day, and combining different things is the way to do that. And this was a great way to really exactly offer that to new guests coming to Nyack. And something which I think was also really leveraging one of the great people who we had here in Nyack. This is Jonathan Demme. It was called The Close-Up, which was put on by the Rivertown Film Society. This event was on November 18th. What was great, that it was actually hosted by his son, Brooklyn, and he brought a couple of other filmmakers and Jonathan's old production company members to the table. And it was a phenomenal success. They had more than 200 people. Actually, they were really hitting the limit of the Nyack Center when it comes to audience. So it was a great event, just again, leveraging one of the assets we have here in Nyack. And then we had the Black Parakeets Award. So Black Parakeets, Terry Clark had this idea of creating the Nyack Arts, Carafes, and Cocktail Festival. And really basically.
That's coming up. That wasn't this year.
No, but it was an exploration grant.
Let's talk about when we get to this year's grant.
But he got this grant to explore really what he wants to do with this idea, and we'll get to what the outcome was of that. So this was in 23. I just want to say one thing, because I think let me say two things. One, first of all, thank you so much for providing these grants. I mean, this was really a wonderful support for the local business community to bring people in. So this is something really which helps everybody and really puts Nyack on the map for all these different reasons. The other thing I want to say is a big shout out to all these participants and all the people who received money, how they executed those grants. This was a very professional experience. I had a lot of back and forth with them. For many, this was the first time they actually got an award, and the way how they executed these and really made them happen was amazing. So I just want to say that when we give out that money, that it's not wasted or people are not taking this seriously. This group really took it extremely seriously and did a wonderful job making these events happen. So I think this has to be said, and I was very grateful for that experience. Now, for 2024, here you can see a quick overview of the different proposals which we have now proposed to you that they would, it should get a grant. Again, I will not go through all of the individual lines right now. It's just gonna go right into the individual ones and give you more feedback. But the total amount which was awarded is $35,000. And let's start with the first one. The idea of the Edward Hopper House is that they wanna bring a plein air festival into the village. So the idea is, and this will be a weekend in May 2024, we will determine the exact date, but that artists of all skill levels are invited to bring their own supplies and materials to paint and sketch outdoors around Nyack in the vicinity, just as Edward Hopper did in his youth in the village. So I think we all agree when we looked at that, this is a very neat idea. So basically to walk to those places where Edward Hopper was maybe a good 100 years ago and where he started to paint, and go to the same places, and everybody who is already maybe an artist or wants to become an artist can actually do that and start painting and really relive and reimagine that kind of experience. In order to really give some guidance to these artists, there will be workshops which will be led by professional artists so people can learn how to paint. And there will be events throughout the day for different, again, more hobbyists or more professional artists who want to be part of that. And they expect about 100+ people for that weekend. And the proposal was to award this with $5,000. As obviously the Edward Hopper House is one of the gems of Nyack, and we're going to really promote that. And this is a great way, I think, to bring this alive.
If you have any questions or comments on any of the individual, as he's talking about, we don't have to, we can be interactive.
Absolutely. Yeah, the second one, this is a continuation of the drifting tour through Nyack, or the Nyack Second Henge shop hopper, it's called now. Again, this is the idea from Laura Graham, also just for you internally. The Wardrobe Archivist, this was her former shop, now it's called Lemonade, so this is just to have this correct. And again, because of this good success of 23, the idea is now that she wants to expand that. She wants to do 6 more tours in 24, so she did 2 in 23, and she wants to do 6 more throughout 24. It's pretty much the same concept, probably adding a couple more stores, a couple more restaurants to it, but the general idea will be the same, that people, they start in a specific store, they pick up a passport, and then they're gonna walk around town. They have to hit basically all the different stores or restaurants, and only then do they qualify for a raffle at the end. So we really make sure that they hit all these different places. And we also make sure that we collect addresses, email addresses, which we then can use, or they can use to remarket that. So people not just come when these tours are on, but they can come throughout the year and say, you know, there's another special or another theme we want to promote when it comes to vintage. So I think this really has a lot of legs. And again, it's one of those most successful themes a lot of other towns have in the Hudson Valley. And we really want to establish that Nyack is a big player in this field as well.
Can I ask a question? Why don't they also include antique shops?
They would, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're open to anybody. So this is something I think I can let Laura know that she should aggressively sign up others. As long as you have basically a vintage aspect to your business.
Vintage, antique, vintage.
Exactly, you can become a player. And this map here is also kind of constantly getting updated. You know, if somebody else joins in that, we update that, so it becomes a living piece, and it lives on our website, so people can always see who else is basically offering something. Yeah, the proposal is to award $4,500 to the idea, and we expect that through these 6 tours alone, that we're going to have about 500 visitors in Nyack coming. Yeah, then something which is also a great a gem of Nyack, which is the Nyack International Film Festival. And we have 3 members of that great initiative here in the audience. So the Nyack International Film Festival is coming back. It has been around for how many years already?
This will be the 12th.
The 12th one, which is amazing, you know, be able to do this in such a sequence and so many times already. So this year is going to be April 1st to the 7th. The plan is to show over 70 movies and to announce 17 different awards in different categories. 20, it's growing. What's nice about that, because it's, basically a whole week, that it entices people to stay in the hotel. And the host hotel is Hotel Nyack. And that's obviously kind of the crown jewel of tourism, if you have people staying in a hotel, because then they'll not just come for an event during the day, but they spend more time in the morning and the evening. So that's why anything which really entices people to stay overnight is great. And this obviously checks exactly that box in a big way. And you guys bring in a lot of people from, not just from Rockland, but from the city and from film lovers, basically from the whole Tri-State region.
Within driving distance.
Yeah.
This was I think the one we were most excited about in terms of, you gotta remember one of the good things about the tourism grants is there are events that, like the Thrift Hop, which did not exist before the tourism grants. The tourism grants funded them and allowed them to do their marketing, which helped make them successful. And then you got events like this, which have been going on, where we're able, or like the Phoenix Festival, that are really blue chip events that we're able to just give them some more oomph for their marketing. And this is, what you're doing is really tremendous, and thank you for bringing that to Nyack, and to have an international film festival with the word Nyack in it is pretty cool.
Right.
And I did want to, if we're a little pressed for time, but can you give us a minute on this? I want to tell the board about they're all special films, but there's one real interesting that everyone's going to recognize the subject.
And we're going to have it on opening night also. We're having two screenings. Opening night, the world premiere of David Kramer's Jimi Hendrix documentary that has taken him 25 years to put together and record 400 interviews with people like Joe Cocker or Stephen Stills or Noel Redding, bassist from the Experience group with Hendrix. And he has been recording interviews for 25 years and editing it. He had a screening at my Black Box Theater in the Woolworth building when I had first moved in 2008. And we packed the place twice, but we fit 60 something seats in there. And then 15 years later, he comes to me and says, I think I'm finished. And what he has, he's compiled 2 hours for the documentary for the film festival. And that is compiled from 15 45-minute episodes that he has created to ultimately get to a streaming service like Hulu or HBO or Amazon or
And
whatever.
a lot of the footage is, in addition to the interviews, there's clips of Hendrix that have never been seen before.
Absolutely.
That's
Most of this is unseen footage and unseen stories from people who were closest to Jimmy and extended around. One thing I noticed was there was quite a few women, and every time I looked at who they were, it's like Jimmy's girlfriend. It's mesmerizing, and it's so exciting that you're almost on the edge of your seat as you're watching. It's almost like a thriller.
Well, congratulations on getting that
Up
to be part of the
and
festival.
up and up, and then there was a little bit of trouble toward the end with the forces of the 60s. He was on J. Edgar Hoover's watch list. He was on the mafia, wanted a piece of the action, as they had a piece of the action back in the 60s. And so it brings to light an amazing narrative story. It's told by interviews, and it just gives you fills in every crack of Jimmy's short existence, when he dies at 27 years old.
It's great.
When do our tickets end?
April 1st.
April 1st and April 6th.
Can I ask how you guys pick which movies you screen?
You want to be on the judging committee?
Well, that one was, that we
Yeah.
didn't have to think too much. In fact, there's a West Nyack connection where the Isley Brothers played at some bar in West Nyack. And Lawrence Holland, I don't know if you know Lawrence, plays bass with Sam Wayman. All of a sudden, he's on the screen. I was like, that's Lawrence. He plays with Sam Wayman and a couple of other groups. So he was in a band that played that evening with the Isley Brothers, and he's giving a little interview on, his take and what he witnessed that night. So we're also, half the people in the movie are unfortunately passed on. It's been going on for 25 years. And But half, another half are still alive, so we're reaching out to them and inviting them to come to experience this also.
It's gonna be a great event. It's gonna be a great event. Congratulations on getting that.
Yeah.
That's the crown jewel.
So the
When the tickets come available?
I'm sorry.
When do tickets come on sale?
Tickets are on sale.
Already?
The Jimi Hendrix one.
For just that one.
Just Saturday night. We still have submissions coming in until the end of February. But by then, we'll have the schedule slowly going up as all the films. And to answer your question, we have about a half a dozen to 10 judges sifting through 76 films at the moment. And quite a few features, but then we have 2-minute films and 5-minute films and 22-minute films. We also have a great film from Lily Gottfried, who is Gilbert Gottfried's daughter. And it's an 8-minute, adorable, wonderful, deeper look into Gilbert's artwork. He was like a cartoonist who liked R. Crumb, like Mad Magazine, as you can imagine, and has all these wonderful little sketches that we get to see also. And she's coming to the festival.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. All right, this is definitely one of the,
Yeah, so the award was 7,000, which I think was the highest.
was the highest of all.
Yeah. Next one is Hope Wade. She had a great idea, called Dogs in Fashion on Broadway. We still also trying to determine the exact date. It's gonna be sometimes in April or May.
I think we also knocked it back to one day, right?
And we're gonna do it one day, so it's gonna be probably three hours. And the idea is to showcase the diversity of the small business community and the walkability of Nyack. And how this will work is that we will set up a runway somewhere in a central location, which we also still have to figure out with Andy exactly where it's gonna be. And then the model will showcase clothing and wares of the Nyack retail community. So obviously we have a lot of clothing stores, but we also have, obviously other retail stores, and the models will then not just wear what our stores are selling when it comes to clothing, but also other products. So that's the idea, that they walk then across the runway with that. And like restaurants, for example, and coffee shops who don't really have anything like that, we can display their logos will be placed on the runway and on the backdrop. So when you look at all of them, the models, the runway, the backdrop, you basically see a complete picture of the Nyack small business community, which is pretty cool. So that's one run. And the other run will be that dog owners can come with their dogs and they can run on the runway as well, with their dogs being also wearing something. And there will be probably some judges.
The dog fashion show.
It's
a dog
This
fashion.
idea is that, first of all, Nyack is a dog lover town. We know that, so we want to promote that aspect. And the other one, that it's a walkable town. So that's why we're walking basically across the runway. So that's the idea behind that. So we felt these are all great things. Small business community with a lot of offerings. We're walkable, we love dogs, and that's going to be promoted with that initiative. And so one thing, I asked Hope, I said I needed graphics for the Board of Trustees, a poster. And so she sent this within an hour. So this is like a graphic, this is like a fashion designer, right? You can see how she developed that and just send it.
We should move the last three. Let's get through the last three, because we have to.
Okay.
We have lots of these.
Maureen's Jazz Cellar, Dancing on the Streets, this was already done in 23, was a big success. They had over 1,000 people. They want to do this again. We said, absolutely, it's a family event with food trucks, kids activities. And so she asked for, we gave her
Just a
25.
little less than that.
A little less, but we
A
said
little more.
it's a proven event.
It's a great event, and she does 3 events a year at Maureen's. This is the first one. This is the one that's within our window of, we were looking to do events between now and June or July.
Right.
So there's just 2 other events that are usually in the summer, fall. And we sort of said, well, we'll give 2,500 we've projected doing 2,500 for each one. That's why it's 2,500 for the event, even though this event probably brings in more people than any of the other.
If you look it up, 1,000 plus.
1,000 people. They really fill the street when they do it. It's a good event.
Yeah, and then last but not least, so again, we started this conversation, Terry Clark had this idea to really celebrate downtown Nyack and the cultural community and the artists and the, musicians, everybody we have here in Nyack, and really make the most out of that and really showcase that. And so we came up with this Arts, Crafts and Cocktails Festival. And there's kind of a first itinerary, how he wants to do that. It's gonna be probably beginning of June, either June 7th and 9th or June 14th and 16th. It's gonna start out at the Nike Center with the Juneteenth pre-celebration event. He also wants to have a performance of the Phoenix Ensemble then to come in, so that's gonna be at the Nike Center the first evening. Then the second day on Saturday, at his place, he wants to do a kind of that specialty cocktail contest, but people can also paint, because it's also, bringing out that aspect that we have a lot of creative artists here and painters here in town, so he will invite all them while serving his specialty cocktails. And then the third day, he wants to have musical performances again back at the Nyack Center, and that's going to be hosted by the Rock Shop, where he has some good experiences with that. They just did this back, I think, November, December at the Nyack Center, so they will do that. So it really highlights that aspect as well. And the idea is that we promote that with $5,000 to really get this concept off the ground. And he feels, and I think if this goes well, 24, this could really be an annual celebration of all these different aspects he's talking about. So those were.
Oh, there was one more.
Sorry.
There's one more, right?
There's one more. That's Joey G's food tour. We all know Joey G has been doing this food tours now for many years. Now he wants to expand on that. He wants to really start in April, go all the way into September. And what's really unique, and that's why I put this map here. Right now, what he basically does, he has people coming into Nyack, they book the tour. For the first time now, if you look at the map, he basically will promote this idea into the city. And he will promote the idea that you take basically a train from Grand Central Station, you come up to Tarrytown, take the bus over, and then you do the tour, then you go back to Tarrytown and go back into the city. So it's the first time that we tap into basically the New York City market with that. And so that's one aspect which we felt strategically very important and very interesting that he does that. And then the other part is, and he has been doing this for a while, but he will continue, he's doing these murder mystery dinners at Hotel Nyack, and he's going to do Staying Alive in January, October, and Be Glitzy and Gay in March. And what's also a nice side aspect of his business for all the other businesses is when he does a food tour, he pays them back. He collects basically a fee from every guest who does the food tour. But for all the sampling that he does, he pays back the restaurant and said a portion of what I'm collecting goes back to the restaurant. So he said about $25,000 to $30,000 he already gives back every year back to the restaurants, which is a nice bonus of that.
Yeah, and I will tell you, one of the things that we really consider with all of the grants is we really look at how many people, what's the impact, and also is the impact spread around different businesses. And this one we really looked at carefully because technically what it is, it's promoting Joey G's business and it's just him.
Right.
But his business is promoting all the different restaurants and Hotel Nyack. So it's sort of like gets distributed secondarily through him. With the same sort of thing with like the thrift hop, is that the thrift hop really does promote those businesses involved in thrifting, but it also, there's restaurants that get involved, and also they're open to promoting other businesses when people are here. So the idea is to try to do these things in a way that brings that helps a variety of businesses, helps promote Nyack generally. And so I think all these events do. You had a summary slide, I think, or something?
Well, just going back to this is really this is again the overview.
So we did have a budget. We want to try to keep it to 35,000. We did 28 for the fall events. 35 keeps us well within. We'll have money to carry over to next time because the tax generated, we think, more than this for the. Do we have an estimate on what the tax generated total for the year?
So far with the 3 quarters, it's about 162,000.
162. So we have 80 through 3 quarters.
Mhm.
All right, so we've spent less than that. We still have another quarter of revenue to come in. Good. That's a great. I mean, Don Hammond really deserves a lot of credit, Mayor Hammond, for really coming up with it, and also the hotels for agreeing to it. I mean, you say, hey, we're going to put a tax and it's going to only be on your business. It's sort of it's a tough thing to try to sell them, but they were believers in it. And that's why the money now is trying to be used to promote some, people to come here and stay, because that helps the hotels. But in general, we're talking about 160 with a quarter left, and that's the fourth quarter, which includes the holidays. So
Can I just,
right?
Well, it's like the last quarter of our year, so it's spring.
Oh, so it's not done yet? Oh, okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah, can I just ask of these events, what ones are free to the public?
Of those,
Opera House is free. You can paint wherever you want.
Yeah, the second one definitely is free. You can actually walk around. and
The
collect.
thrifting?
The
Thrifting is, they don't charge for the thrifting.
Okay.
Well, you have to buy stuff. I mean, you don't have to buy stuff, but
You're
They make money by
you-
buying
you
stuff.
pay for that?
Yes.
As an entrance fee?
it's a ticket for the film festival.
We have discounts for seniors.
The Rock of Fashion Week, the fashion dogs will probably definitely be free, just,
Okay.
It's out the street.
dancing in the streets is free. The Arts Caress and Cocktail Festival, I don't know. I would-
Depends on the, I think, the event. Some events will be more open than others.
Yeah.
And Joey
And
G charges for
Charges.
tourists.
Okay, yeah, I just wanna make sure we're not excluding, parts of the community that may not be able to afford some of these
Yeah.
events, but. And I guess in terms of that, what, if any, is sort of being done to pull in some of those communities who normally wouldn't attend events like this? Other than, like, what are we doing to sort of pull a lot of people who normally wouldn't come to some of these events to participate who live in the district, in the village?
so we promote all the events from a Visit Nyack standpoint. They're all listed there. There's a calendar, there's a weekly newsletter. So I always ask everybody who wants to know what's going on in Nyack, they should subscribe to the newsletter. Every Thursday, there's a newsletter going out. So I don't know how much the village could do.
But the funding, it's not the funding though. You do it on your own. The
Yeah.
funding goes to the event managers who then spend it. And I think there is part of the grant. One of the elements of the grant is about making sure we're servicing diverse communities. That's in there as part of the.
Yeah.
Part of the, what they're, like the 4 things they have to check off that they're going to do as part of and it is, I mean, of the 7 events, 2 of them are being put on by African-American business entrepreneurs within the village. One of them is a member of the LGBTQ plus community, at least one, there may be more, I don't know everybody's background. But yeah, that's a good point. Now, remember, the purpose of these specifically is to bring in tourism. So I think the point should be to remind them that when we're looking at tourism, let's make sure that we're hitting different diverse communities to try and get them into Nyack, to bring them to Nyack as much. That's a very good point.
But in general, I think we can be, again, very proud that we have all these initiatives and all these great ideas people bring to the table. And I think for our little village, to produce this, and this is just 6 months of the year, I think is a wonderful testament to the power of this village. And just maybe one more thought about this, this grant, why it's strategically so important. It's so also we are so grateful that we get the support from a Visit Nyack standpoint, from a tourism standpoint. We all know, and you can ask your own friends, in the city, for example, Nyack is known, for our great food, for, it's a great walkable town, for access to the river and everything. But what we also know, it takes a trigger for people to come out here. You have to have an idea, you have to have an event, you have to have an initiative, you have to have a reason to say, oh, because of the Nyack International Film Festival, I'm going to jump into my car or into my train or whatever, and I come up here and go to that. And so that's why this is so important. This really makes sure that there is foot traffic in town, that people are coming. And it's all of our job. And we just had a board meeting around this from a Nyack standpoint. We have to make sure that the people who come, especially the ones who come for the first time, we capture the information, we capture their email, and we make sure that we consistently then update them and say, hey, come back for more. But we need this first teaser, and those things are the first teaser. And then we have to make sure that they come for the main menu over the next couple of years and come back many more times over. So that's why, from a tourism standpoint, this is super strategically important.
I have a basic question. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 events over here, seven events. So are these the only proposals that you received? Are there other proposals that came in? In other words, how widely distributed is the RFP, the request for proposal?
So I just looked at the numbers. We got back, I think when we started this was in July. We got, I think, 2022 proposals.
Okay.
And I think there were 4 or 5 which were not funded. Primarily for reasons because there were not that was excluding them, but most of them they were from out of town also. And And it was very clear, it was not really helping businesses here in Nyack, it was primarily helping their own business, and that's why they sent in this proposal. And when we looked at them, we said, you know, this really doesn't make a lot
Of
of
the
sense.
ones that came up this time, we went 8 for 8 on the funding, and there was no real debate. It was just the amount was what was debated, not the actual funding. We thought these were all worthwhile. When we did it last time in, I would say, the summer or September, maybe. There were several we did not fund because we said we didn't really see the value of it. And you're right, some of them were not, it didn't really feel like very much of the NIAC thing that they were.
We didn't really feel that they had the insight even, you know, they were talking about, you know, also some similar to what Joey G is doing.
They weren't like events like this. They were things that like they were gonna do a campaign and we thought the campaign we'd rather have a campaign focused on a local event by a local entrepreneur. But I think to Joe's point, let's make sure that we really do promote because now that we've done them, I think people have seen, oh boy, they got that funded by we'll get more grant applications. Let's make sure that, because everybody who got a grant is probably gonna apply for another one, and then we should be getting some more as well. So
Absolutely.
I'd like
let's
to
make
see,
sure.
I'd like to see fresher, proposals coming in. There's a couple of these also were funded last year. You know, people were funded.
Well, the only one which we
No.
funded more was the thrifting tour through Nyack.
What's that?
The only one which got an extension was the thrifting tour through Nyack.
The others are all new.
But Marines, I mean, I'm not saying,
No, Maureen's never got funding.
These were events which already existed, but they never got funded from Nyack Tourism Grant. They did their own thing, they financed it basically on their own, but they never got a grant from the tourism grant. This is great.
my opinion is the more the better, get as many proposals as possible.
Absolutely.
Even if they come again, I mean, some of these proposals, if they're successful, by all means, let's fund them in the next round.
Agreed.
Right?
Can I also just ask too, it looks like there's, with the exception of maybe 2, a lot of these are brick and mortar spots in Nyack. Did you get any grants from places that weren't brick and mortar, but people who are just within the village wanting to put on events?
No.
No, okay. Is there a way we can sort of help and promote some of that, or is that like a requirement?
You're thinking of like
No, I was actually surprised by how many of the requests that came in were from people that own businesses within the village. That was a surprise. We weren't expecting that. That's just kind of the way it had laid out. But that may not be the way it is when we get the next round.
Right, okay.
And the other thing, Joe, to your point, what we would like to see is that this is just a Kickstarter, you know, to get these events off the ground. And then, to your point, we can actually go to new ones, you know, because the more the merrier. And so we're gonna look at that obviously next time as well.
I mean, I'd rather fund 20 events at $2,000 each.
Yeah.
Than 10 events at $4,000 each with the same amount of money, because I think I'd rather spread the money around and have different groups have an opportunity to put them out. But I mean, when we gave the money when we gave more than $4,000 or $5,000, it was for organizations that had a proven track record of running top-notch events and bringing lots of people to the village.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just say, along with the Jimi Hendrix movie, we've also throughout the years have had numerous Rockland-based movies from Rockland filmmakers. We have an association with Nyack High School, St. Thomas, and Dominican, also supplying films from their students. We have People to People this year with Diane Servatori and Tim O'Donoghue and Rita Harvey. They're in a thing. So we'll be playing this in front of the entire house. We also have buildings like the John Green House. We had, there was a documentary. There was a documentary on the farms. There's one on Nyack that has come in. So and also a lot of social issues that we've had. Filmmakers, of course, one of the beautiful things about film is you can reflect society and certain causes, and we are very big on that. We have a great diversity statement, and we promote underserved filmmakers with underserved topics that it's not a Hollywood blockbuster.
Yeah.
You know, these are generally filmmakers that are making their first films and they want to make an impact with something substantial in their film topic and content. So, and we give tickets away. If anybody knows me, every time I see them, when I have tickets, it's like, here's some tickets, here's an all access pass. So we spread it around. a
Thank
lot.
you. And thank you for what you're doing and we're proud to, I was proud as part of the business council to be part of it and we'll see if we're funding it now. Anything else that you had? So I think we have the motions on the table. That's what we brought the presentation in, as a comment on the motion for the funding. Right?
I think you already approved it.
No, we didn't approve the resolution yet.
Then
The motion's on the table. Okay. Any further comments on does anybody have any comments, questions about the amounts or anything else? All in favor of approving the resolution as stated with the amounts? All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Tomas.
Thank you for your
Thank you for your support. There we go. Thank you. And we have one more resolution on the table, which was not in the packet. Is it online? Can people see this on the?
Yeah.
It's now online, so you can find it online. We didn't get this, we got it ready after the packet had been prepared, so we apologize that it wasn't available. It's resolution 2024-21, Village of Nyack Board of Trustees resolution approving flying the Black History Month flag. Can I get a motion to put this on the table?
Motion.
Second.
I'll just describe it, now that it's up for discussion. The Black History Month in February goes back to 1926. That's when it was first created. It was actually a week, not a month, but then in 1975, President Ford officially commemorated the observance for the Black History Week. And then in 1976, it was expanded by the Association for the Study of African American Life and History to become Black History Month. And the years that followed, the President of the United States and Congress have regularly issued messages honoring February as Black History Month by presidential proclamation as well as congressional resolution. And we wish to join them to express our support for the African American community of the Village and for Black History Month. And so the resolution is to display the Black History flag on the flagpoles at Village Hall, Hezekiah Easter Memorial Square, and Memorial Park to be displayed for the month of February. That's the resolution. Do we have discussion?
So, we have a flag code, I thought, that prohibited us from having flags just on the Village Hall. Do I have that correct?
There's a US flag code, which is, I don't know how it has in terms of if it's compelled by law, but the tradition is the US flag goes to the top. POWMIO goes under that. Anything else you want to post has to go under those. That's the same size or small.
She's referencing the fact that we'd heard previously that there were issues with flying a flag that there'd been some sort of lawsuit involving the LGBTQ plus rainbow flag, flying that, and that had been resolved by some sort of
Is there a village resolution, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's chapter 201, chapter 201 of Village Code. There's flags and pennants. That what Andy's speaking to.
So it doesn't prohibit us from flying flags upon request, I guess is what I'm asking.
First time I'm seeing this. Yeah, looks like it does.
Okay, that's fine.
Now,
201-1 says no flag other than those specifically delineated in 201.
and if we want to change that, we need to do it by
And the only flags are what Andy said, the United States, US flag, and the prisoner of war, and missing in action flag.
Because I am in support of this. I just know the last time we did fly flags in the community, there was a couple people who did reach out expressing their dismay. I do want us to be a little bit more mindful.
that wasn't even on a flagpole.
Yeah, no, it wasn't on the flagpole, it was just on the street, but I do want us to be a lot more mindful of when we're making some of those decisions. I mean, I think we wouldn't want someone to come in, asking to display a flag that doesn't really fit the cultural of our village, so I do want us to be a little bit more mindful of when we are making decisions on these, because there is a balance of restricting speech, but also not wanting to feel like we shouldn't support groups and cultures that are in our village.
There's a 3-year-old United States Supreme Court decision, and the Supreme Court decision had to do with Boston turning down a flag request. And what the court held was that because Boston had routinely allowed anyone to fly a flag on the public square, that they had created a public space. And so they couldn't then say, well, you can't fly your flag, if they'd approved like 250 flags in the past. However, the Supreme Court did make clear that a municipality could, as long as they have not created a public square, by allowing routinely, without any review, any flag to fly, could treat the flagpole as an expression of the village speech. Now, in our read on this was that the Black History flag, because it's part of it's part of a proclamation made by the United States federal government, by the states, or by Congress, that it was not necessarily a viewpoint flag. It was to show support for the government, the federal government proclamation. But this legislation, this resolution, I mean, it's a little vague. Is it?
Are we talking about the
I'm talking about,
chapter 201?
I'm talking about 201-2.
Well, it does say a flag pole. So if you're going to display it, just let's say hang it, on the facade of the building, I think you could work your way around it.
Then
It's
you
just-
change the resolution because it says flag on flag
Yeah,
poles.
we'd have to change resolution. So in order for us to change this, we need a public hearing.
You mean chapter 201? Yeah,
Yes.
that would be a local law, yes.
So we need, and what would be the earliest we could do that?
It's gotta be published in the newspaper, I would say at least a month. It's not subject to a GML review, so it does not have to go to the Rockland County Department of Planning, but you have to post, you have to
Well, the
publish.
ETPA, we said it was like 10 days.
Yeah, but you have, that's when it has to be published. I was trying to gently tell you last meeting that the Journal News needs whatever public notice you want to publish, they need it like a week ahead. At least
And then it's 10
five
days
business
from there.
days, right, Jen?
About that.
And it's only one day of the week. They only,
Alright.
yeah, so
Here's,
so I'm saying to be safe, a month.
we need to know that there was obviously, I'd heard this and I did not realize it was when you didn't realize it was in the code that this
No,
would
I-
restrict us.
Yeah.
We gotta figure out what's the import of that with regard to the fact that apparently it was done in regard to some sort of litigation, which is what I mentioned this week when I brought it up, that there was some litigation about this. Now, it prevents the flying of a flag, it doesn't prevent display in some other way.
Banner.
I would
What about what we did with the Israeli flags
I
on the utility poles?
I would suggest that maybe we have the resolution to do that. To change the resolution to fly on the flagpoles, but I would like to look at this legislation because I think first of all, if this legislation was passed before the Supreme Court decision. The Supreme Court decision was 2 years ago. I think this legislation goes back further than that. And the Supreme Court decision makes clear that we have the right as a village to express whatever we want to express. We can put something on the flag. If we agree as a board, this is what we want, the people elect us to express our opinion on political public issues. So we can do that. And we don't have to then say, well, anybody that comes up and we have to put up their flag, as long as we treat the flags as articulations of a perspective of the village of Nyack as represented by its board. So I think this law has been superseded in terms of its necessity by the Supreme Court decision. I would like to take a look at reviewing it. In the meantime,
I'm working on that and I do agree with you. There needs to be some, either by local law or by adopting a written policy by resolution about the display of any type of flag. I do think there are limits, just because the village board has a particular
I understand.
opinion.
Let's not get into the
Yeah.
law school questions. So don't get into
Okay.
law school theory
Glad
about.
someone else is picking that up, because that's my concern too.
We could take some
Yeah.
extreme view and whatnot. Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
My point is that if we want to take a view to support local residents who are gay or local residents who are of a certain ethnicity or race or whatever, that we can do that. And we can articulate that without feeling as if we have to give equal time to every possible permutation of that.
Yes,
But for the time being, given that Black History Month starts in 5 days.
Yep.
I would like to amend the resolution to change that. Will express its support of the federal recognition of Black History Month by displaying the Black History flag on
Just, how about this, so that we will display the Black History Month flags or banners in a manner that does not conflict with chapter two hundred and one.
I just want to say that
Keep it simple.
we're gonna recognize, we're gonna support by displaying the Black History flag on designated
Yeah, on our main street.
as municipal, on municipal property as determined by the village administrator.
It's on the utility poles on Main Street.
That'd be where we go, but I don't think we have to say that specifically.
I mean, maybe we should, just so.
Okay, on, along Main Streets, utility poles.
Okay.
Say crossing out, flag poles and everything from flag poles and then all the way to the display, all the way to the memorial, where it says Memorial Park. So cross everything from flag poles to Memorial Park, insert utility poles along Main Street, and then to be displayed from February 1 to February 29. We get an extra day to celebrate Black History Month this year
Yeah.
because of the leap year. All right, so with that change made, any further questions or comments?
Do you want to get 3 of them?
You have 3 comments and
Do you
questions?
want to get 3 flags?
How many flag poles do we have?
I can't.
Or how many flag
Well,
poles,
how many
how
did you
many
do?
streetlights?
For Veterans Day, I mean, there's just, I don't know, there's probably a couple of
How
dozen
did,
flags.
yeah, how did you do it for the Israeli class?
They gave us 6 and we used those.
Oh, okay.
Let's put up as many as we can get a hand on. In a reasonable, as many, if they want to give us, if we can, I mean, if they want us to go get them, then we'll go get them. If they want to provide them to us, then we'll put up as many as they provide to us.
Who's
that seem fair?
providing?
Well, the request came from the NAACP.
Oh, okay.
That's where the request came from initially. So they may have things. If they don't, then we can let them know after tomorrow that we're looking for them and figure out some way to get them.
Don't turn the corner onto North Broadway because you can't put it on a flagpole that's adjacent or pertinent to any public building owned by the village. So,
Yeah, but a streetlight's not a flagpole.
but I would just be a little nervous if you.
I don't think they could be flags, right? They're not necessarily flags. They're like banners.
Just don't put it in front of Village Hall.
It's a pole with a
Yeah.
flag.
Don't put them on front of Village Hall. Okay,
Or close to Village Hall.
okay. All
Main
right.
Street is fine.
Okay, with that change, you got the change then?
Yep, I got the change.
Everybody have any other questions or comments about it?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? No, ayes carry.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, one abstention.
Oh, well, not one, but it's not abstention, he wasn't here to vote.
Yeah.
That's it for the resolutions. We are on to department reports. Police department, there's no report. Did you have the meeting with the police department this week? Anything come out of it?
No, we didn't have it.
Oh, you didn't have it.
Okay.
I've been asking for a while, but is the police department ever planning on coming to a village board meeting? I feel like I've been
Yes,
asking for
I
a while.
haven't gotten them pinned down for a date yet.
Okay. Can we get?
I'm shooting for February 8th, but I just don't have that confirmed.
What is that?
Police department. Police department. Having police representation come to talk to us at a meeting, which they should probably do a couple times a year.
Yeah.
They should probably try to get in there a couple times a year. Village attorney report,
I have nothing.
besides just the big lump that we threw on your table a few minutes ago.
No traffic?
No, I've been brushing up on my law here and I'm looking for little tidbits to offer you, but I've got nothing this evening. So,
My wife got a ticket going through Dobbs Ferry, so I'm gonna ask you for. Since it's a small village and she has to, she's gonna be, what should she say? What are the winning words to get the points reduced? All right, village administrator report.
On the ETPA, I think Dennis been wonderful. We resolved sort of the last lingering legal question yesterday. I've prepped the mailing for tomorrow. It'll go out by email instantaneously in various forms of postal
Okay,
to the subject addresses.
okay,
So that'll go out the door. We've set the due date for return of those, I think, for February 26th, which is a Monday. It gives us 3 or 4 days before the hearing on the 29th to
determined.
kind of collate the data. So there's that. Anne Marie has suggested that we increase the marina slip fee a bit. So we're gonna come forward with a resolution on that next time to adjust the fee schedule. I'm in line with other marinas, essentially.
I'd like to look at the slip schedule. I also like to look at the launch fee that we charge.
So we can collect, I know you want data on how much
Yeah,
revenue.
how much we collect, because the launch fee to me is like
Yeah.
we spend, I think we lose money actually on the launching.
It's $25 a launch.
I wanna know how that compares to other areas
So,
and how many times we collect it.
yeah, I'll get you that information. So there's that, just as a heads up on that anyway, our park projects really took off this past week. The rain has stopped them for a couple of days. But they have torn up the asphalt that needs to be removed from the playground. They have, kind of set the table for building the road back past the basketball court to the splash pad. We have kind of ironed out a couple of wrinkles here and there on implementation. And the partnership with the contractor seems wonderful. They're very responsive. H2M has been super helpful. One of the ideas which was surfaced, which we're pursuing right now, is the idea of providing an electrical outlet that's suitable for a food truck. Because we don't like food trucks running their generators all the time. So I'm getting quotes from electricians on what it would cost to install one of those. I'll come back to the village board with a concept for that. Right now, my concept, what appears to be most cost effective, would be essentially to have it located on the left as you come down the driveway, just past our little storage shed and where we have our barriers for the restaurant stored right now, in those parking spaces there. Running the wire from the corner of the basketball court where there's an electrical panel. And so that's my concept right now. I reviewed that with Jim Wilcox this morning, the chair of our park commission, and he liked the idea. And so if we're able to park a food truck or two there without them having to run their motors to run their refrigeration or have generators going that also make noise and pollution. But that would be a step kind of towards more quality of life for the park, essentially. So just doing a little research on that. I wanted to let you know, the Mayor Rand had asked for an update on the EV charging stations. That project has been going slowly, largely because our chosen vendor for it has, like all EV installers, has had to get recertified from NYSERDA, the state's Energy Research and Development Group. And that has finally been completed. Just a day or so ago, we submitted our applications to NYSERDA to pay for these things. And they don't know how long it's gonna take before they turn around, but we're hopeful that within a couple of months anyway, we'll have a response from NYSERDA about the funding commitment and be able to move forward with the installation of those charging stations.
We have to get the funding before we can buy the equipment, right?
Yeah,
How much is the equipment?
I can't remember the total right now, to tell you the truth. It's
Ballpark?
probably, I don't know, $50,000-$60,000 project, something like that.
So we can't ask for reimbursement. We have to actually ask for money in advance to buy them.
The installer contractor actually submits the grants and handles the paperwork. It's part of their
Okay.
kind of procurement process.
Yeah, this has been frustrating because we passed that, had to be what, April we passed
Yeah.
that? That resolution to authorize to buy them.
Yeah,
Like every once in a while, we'll get a question on, hey, what's the
Yeah, where they,
charging?
which is a fair question. People own electric cars and a lot of people in the village don't necessarily have driveways where they can have a
Place to charge it.
charger, so they have to charge them place. There's no place to charge them in the village anymore.
well,
And I think it's
yeah,
even worse. We should really take the one down that's there because the fact that
Oh,
it's broken,
it's like fault.
just it's like
Yeah,
salt in the
advertising.
wound to have that thing up. Right?
Yeah.
Not something you don't know and you just see it and you're like trying to
You
use it.
plug in, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's-
Was it budgeted? Was pretty much charges budgeted?
It wasn't budgeted because the EV chargers are supposed to be paid for by
Yeah,
grants.
it's through a NYSERDA grant, right?
right.
Yeah.
It's NYSERDA grant and Arjun Rockland.
And then the grant got held up because the vendor needed to get certification, which took apparently forever. And now they've gotten certification, so now the application's in, and now we gotta wait for the application to get approved, and then we can get the
The village
charges.
doesn't have to lay out the.
No. It's not costing us anything.
With respect to NYSERDA,
Not
they're
supposed
probably
to,
understaffed as
many
every
chargers?
state agency
I think it
is.
was,
We're going for another, so there's 2 dead ones and we'll get 2 more at the veterans lot and we're adding 4 to the marina lot.
it was 8 total, right?
You're right, yeah.
4 and 4.
So, yeah, no, it's frustrating. We'll get there. We'll have a lot of them when it's finished. And I think people who drive EVs use an app to find those things.
they'll find them once they're there, yeah, but it's a question of just getting them there.
And when they do go in, we'll have a electricity charge capacity on there. In other words, charging for the electricity. Because right now, well, before they broke, it was just free.
It was free, it's now also free, it just doesn't work.
You could park it.
That's
free parking.
This is a real, like, if you build it, they will come
Right.
kind of.
But it's not free, you have to pay for the parking space, right?
Right now?
No,
I can't remember, Joe, whether that was a metered spot or not. I think it was,
I think
yeah.
it was, yeah.
You pay for meters,
I don't know.
I meter times, but you didn't
I've
pay
been trying to
for
run them as working devices,
But the new EV charging stations you will pay for them, or.
Right, there'll be parking,
It's a
metering,
fee.
and then you can charge at a certain rate per kilowatt hour or something.
So as it stands now, you can park there for free.
No.
Okay.
No.
No, it's not working. A gas car could go there.
You can park there, just pay the meter.
Yeah.
So what's next? All right, what's next after EV? Thank you for the update on the EVs. I asked for that.
I'll stop with that.
No,
Unless you have any
okay.
questions?
Village clerk.
Nothing for me.
All right, old business. Do we have old business that we did not yet talk about?
There was something I had on my notes that you mentioned you wanted to bring up with me. Oh, that was first night, which you already talked about.
First night, well, did you want to talk about first night? Come on up.
Yeah.
I'm a bit stop.
I mean, the whole tourism grant thing is so great. I wish we could have gotten in on that, but
Oh, I mean,
There's
yeah.
another round.
Oh, there's another round. There's two more rounds. Oh, at least one round between now and the end of the year.
and that would be your not brick and mortar.
Yeah. I'm
So
excited.
I was on the committee and
What's your
Racking-
name for the
it's
record?
Carol Gallion. And I was on the committee in 1995 and 96, I think. I've been racking my brains trying to remember when it was. I used to have boxes of notes and after a few moves, they're gone. But we had one really successful year. And then the next year was kind of not as successful because of a very bad ice storm that happened on New Year's Eve or the day before. And I just noticed on the NIAF pages at New Year's that a lot of people were like, hey, whatever happened to, or, you know.
I think
just NIAF.
they'd had it more recently than the mid-90s. Like it was, people were talking about doing it like 10 years ago that it used to go on. Jack, you can weigh on that.
2015?
How long, what was the last one?
I have buttons still.
Yeah, I have,
95.
I see, you want a button, I can give you a button.
Oh, so it really is that long ago.
Last was the 90s.
Oh, then I guess then I wouldn't have been around for that.
It definitely
So what
happened
did, for the people here that's obviously we're not around for that.
I
Definitely
know it
happened.
wasn't the
I was
millennium,
around. I was
so maybe it was 90.
Don't talk.
So,
You don't get to talk
may I
about
say
5 minutes.
something? Here's
You're in
this is the
timeout.
timeline. Mrs. Hecker was the mayor. She was the one
yeah.
who launched it, okay, Terry, and I forget who, what the hell.
Yania Pearson, who worked for the village, I think, at the
Yeah.
time, or NIAC Center, who was a really dynamic person. And we actually we got some money and hired a coordinator. But I think that I'm pretty confident I could get volunteers. And now I was working at Young Children and now I'm retired. So I just noticed there was a lot of inquiries on the NIAC pages about it.
A lot of people, for the fact that it's not been done in 25 or 30 years, a lot of people did remember it pretty fondly. The nature of it was a series of events, like the church would be open, there'd be a choir in the
Yeah.
church, and there would be, different places would have different open houses for
Exactly.
events, and I think, weren't there also like, there were fires, they put up a.
The events.
That was my idea about the fire barrels. I love how-
You have to pay for
We
the,
have
40 events, the streets were closed, they had, they put,
We had the
I don't know if
trolley.
be allowed anymore. It's barrels in the streets,
And-
fires.
And I believe we had the trolley, which a lot of cities and towns that have some free transportation. I think key would be to have more warming stations because it is, even though people are going in for arts events, it is an outdoor event.
Yeah.
You're outside, it culminated in fireworks. We had the fire barrels, that was an idea, and people would sing around them and things like that. And it took a great deal of coordination, but there are so many arts organizations and artists in Nyack that I think would all take a piece, that I think that's what we have going for us. I mean, there's Rivertown and Arts Rock, and there's just so many different, Phoenix, and I'd like to see, and we did have almost every kind of artist represented, from, you know, poetry, music, of course, stage, and dance. There was a dance, like a square dance at the Y, you could get a lesson. And the whole thing is that, I mean, the real First Night brand is that it's an alcohol-free, family-friendly event. So all of the things that we promote as a part of it, we had this, yeah, I know this came up of not using the First Night brand. It started in Boston, and even Boston didn't use, they went to the Boston Art Festival or something for a couple of years, but I noticed that last year they were First Night again. So I guess they bought into the brand, and we had, but we don't have to. I think Providence calls it Bright Night. But the only cities in New York, there's a couple of neighboring cities in, I think, in Jersey, but in New York, it's Binghamton, Buffalo, New Rochelle, Saranac Lake, Saratoga Springs, and Watertown. But the Saratoga Springs one is called the Saratoga New Year's Festival.
Okay, so they all sort of share the same concept of being.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I would be very, I'd wanna. I love the idea of having a series of interrelated events that bring people, to have them celebrate the new year in a festive way and gets a lot of people involved in it. I think that we want to do it as a complement to the fact that that's a very important night for the restaurants and bars, and I don't want to take that away from them.
Nothing to stop.
So we have to work with them on it.
Yeah.
We don't need to do any kind of resolution on this. I think I just want to bring it to the attention. And I think what we should do is we should talk offline about getting some participation from the business council with this to coordinate, and you could start working on some volunteer events, but the business council might have some ideas about how to make sure it's coordinated with some of these things. So I think I think it'd be lovely to bring it back. I think it'd be great. It'd be nice to have it.
I think
If possible.
one thing that's really key is that, while it's a great event for parents and families in Nyack, and that's kind of where my heart is. But one thing we did was we had films for kids at Nyack Center, and you could actually do some things with your kids, then you could drop them off there, and they had like a pajama party, and then adults could go do some things. And but I think that if you really start a core committee, and it's like, it's a commitment, and as like some of these events, they happen over and over again, people do start coming from other towns and cities, and maybe stay in a hotel for the weekend.
Yeah.
It is a destination thing as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. You had something, I'm sorry.
No, just say two things. My wife constantly talks about First Night. Her memories of it are so vivid, and her daughter has had such a great time. She had visitors from out of town, old friends, and they said they had never experienced something like First Night. First Night, we can't use it unless we have to pay a franchise.
Right.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
licensed.
it is an actual brand. I
Yeah,
was called something
and
else.
that's another
I'm not
thing.
paying a dime, so we're gonna have cheap as hell, so.
Yeah.
So you
It
make
could be
it
like-
First Night.
Or ring in the arts or something, you know.
White night, was it?
Yeah.
Definitely stop using First Night.
Someone
Yeah.
actually, brand franchise?
Yeah, you go to
Yeah, that's-
Wikipedia and you
That's
see.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The other thing is, I like to also involve the Chamber of Commerce.
absolutely.
Well, the chamber's represented on the business council.
Okay.
They have the two or three board members on the
Okay.
I
business
would
council,
actually-
and Roger is a ex officio. Okay.
I was gonna say, cause I really do like the idea of it also being a night of alcohol free for a lot of people who, you know, may want that. So I'm wondering if even pairing up with Matt or like.
Absolutely.
students to-
We could get
again,
some
you know,
sponsorship.
Yeah, and even if they wanna come, or even Oasis for the state,
Mhm.
the Office of Substance Abuse and Addiction, I think that's how that acronym goes.
Yeah.
Just so that we can also promote a safe night as well as a
Mhm.
good night for
Yeah.
everyone. But I like that idea a lot.
And if we did have, I mean, we shut Broadway from, I think, from Cedar Hill, just like we do for the street
Mhm.
fair, same sort of thing. But I think if we did have a trolley or some sort of little tram or something, it might actually help some of the businesses on Main Street, like people wouldn't have to park. They wouldn't have to drive to their cars. I mean, we wouldn't discriminate. They could catch a shuttle back maybe, or.
I think the details we can get into that. If you do come back to us with street closures, we'd have to approve the actual street closures, and I would tell you, we'll talk more about this.
Yeah,
About the,
yeah, yeah,
down to the
absolutely.
weeds
I
about
just
it.
wanted to.
But I appreciate you volunteering to spearhead and really try to take some leadership of it. And I got some other people who post online and whatnot, so we'll try to get some group of people together and start thinking about events and try to remember some of the events that used to take place, see if we can reresurrect some of those. Create some.
The puppet shows, magic shows, as I said, dances, people are really into conga dancing or square dancing or swing dancing is a really big thing.
Mario the Magician.
Mario the music, I already thought about him. There's so many music venues, Dave and Brianna are friends. I'm sure they'd want to get involved in some way, shape or form.
Now if it's alcohol free, because that's how they make them.
Well,
But yes, I
that's true.
think they want to definitely do events. They
But
definitely want to do events. That's it.
People are drinking in the
I think that there's a- I think
streets.
We could have a range. I think the larger idea to me is to try to make Nyack a destination for New Year's Eve for the businesses, for the restaurants, for the bars. And also and bringing people in to do some of these
Yeah,
non-commercial events as
Yeah.
well would be great.
yeah. I mean, Maureen's actually did New Year's Eve this year. They didn't do something.
On Saturday night. They did.
Can we
They
do
did
that?
New Year's Eve.
Can we call it New?
And
well,
it's purposely to keep people off the streets on New Year's. It's statistically the work in most accidents.
Yes, and we'd have to think about that as well. All right, thank you. I appreciate it. We'll talk about this
Sure.
more offline,
Thank you.
but I do appreciate you stepping up to do that. Any other new business? We did talk about when Ms. DeVito was here, we talked about the issue going down on the waterfront, which has just been plaguing us, and we haven't been able to get in front of that. I know that we should look at speed bumps. We should look at if there's, what other things we can come up with. Let's get those lights fixed too. I liked his idea of putting
It takes time.
some cameras down there just to keep people honest.
I'm wondering whether it might make sense just to run temporary barriers. Like you could go into like the Seaport parking lot, but you couldn't get past there. Kind of thing.
Block off everything
Just
beyond the sea
block it from that side. So if you go down in there, you gotta go back out Bird Street. So the knuckleheads probably wanna go over by the launch.
Yeah, that's what
So
they,
they-
that's where they do all their
They would
stuff.
be
yeah.
frustrated, but they could move barriers, obviously, but they'd be frustrated by them.
But if they move the barriers and we actually close that part of the marina parking lot after 10 o'clock.
What I'm saying is just.
If we
close it,
officially closed everything beyond that barrier,
Right,
and then, because then the cops, they can see the lights. That's what they drive by and they see people with their headlights in the wrong place. They can come down and issue tickets, That's what they do. That's how they got me when I was in Memorial Park at 4:30 AM, walking my dog.
And what do we?
I get up early. I'm an early riser, so I'm walking my dog at 4:30. My car's parked at the marina parking lot, and the cop got me. He didn't.
Dead with my eyes open at 4:30 in the
The
morning.
park is very nice at 4:30, I'll tell you.
my
It's very
issue
quiet.
is, if you wanna join me in putting those barriers up on weekdays when we don't have any staff on duty at like 10 o'clock at night or something like that.
Carlin
I'll
volunteered.
get you down there.
All right, so we gotta figure something,
I thought, cause I'm afraid the speed hump may just make more noise of braking and acceleration, like.
yeah, because they speed up and slow down.
I think they've identified, the problem is people congregating in the marina parking lot late at night and driving in and out of there a lot. Like,
Is it by the ramp? Is that where they?
No, I think it's all the way down by the.
yeah, down by the ramp, it's a fun part to go down close to the water. So I'm just wondering if maybe some volunteers or something, to just put up barriers there, like, Wednesday and Sunday night, you
The
know?
people that live on Bird, the people who are actually affected by it.
Oh, we can't make the citizens. It's gotta be some governments. All right, let's think more about it. But that's, I think it's really something that we have to really, I mean, and we have to bring up with OPD. I mean, you know, we've kind of haven't really brought up much with OPD because we've been focused on the panhandling issue, which we should not let up on. But at the same time, you know, there's a lot of free tickets down there. They can give out lots of tickets,
Right.
mufflers that are
It's
too
like an
loud,
extension.
people speeding,
They're,
people drinking.
they really don't, we pushed them hard on the muffler thing before, and they really couldn't find a pathway. That was sort of frustrating.
But what about loitering after hours? Like even if they're going down there, like, and it's part of their sort of
If it's,
loop around the
It's-
village.
Technically, it's open till midnight.
Oh,
yeah, and we moved that up from 3 AM.
I mean, the restaurant has,
mhm.
restaurant.
So it's late,
people.
yeah, they have late stuff.
We have permit parking there in the top part of the marina lot. It'd be very, very expensive to build gates. Like, that we could open and close to block off like the lower part of the boat launch
We
area.
hire like an old timey sheriff with like a baseball bat who goes down there and it's like, let me
Well,
just teach you guys if you break a few headlamps and then no one comes back.
How about a robotic Rottweiler?
The barks, then they would complain about the barking. All right, we gotta just keep it on it, cause it's really, we just gotta keep looking for opportunities. I think getting the lights put up, I think not a totally expensive option, for something that would have other value as well, would be seeing if we can put some cameras down there. Cameras are not that expensive anymore. You can get them relatively cheaply, as long as we have an electrical source.
Okay.
Having the cameras as a way of just a deterrent.
Another device exists, which is basically called a flash cam, which is a motion activated thing that takes a picture and yells at you. They use it for preventing vandalism, like under bridges and things, so
Huh.
when you activate it, it basically lights up. And it
Takes a picture of you.
You can put any message on it you want, basically say, leave the area, or you've been photographed, or
I nominate
this
Dennis.
park is closed now.
I think that's actually, I like that.
that, something.
I like that. I like the idea of there being a motion
Basically, like
activated
an
flash
electronic
with a picture, so we get the video,
bullhorn.
and then something that tells them to go away.
Yeah.
That's not so loud that she can hear it, but loud enough for them to hear it down there.
That's
You know,
an
you've been recorded, you're in violation of the law,
Yeah.
if you're here after 12 o'clock at night.
It's like RoboCop, you know, with the
Yeah,
little
exactly.
machine.
And then you and I can go
Without
down
the
with the baseball bats and break the headlights. We're not gonna actually do that. Just for the record. For the record, and for the people on YouTube, we're not actually gonna do that. All right, we have the other new business item, which is that you got a memo from Andy
Oh,
Mhm.
with a
Can I walk
series of
through that real
suggestions. Huh?
can I walk them through that real quick?
Can you run through it?
Yeah, I can verbally.
All right, let's run through it quick. So we were at 2 hours. Let's run through it quick. And what I'm proposing is that we have a workshop at 6:30 before our next meeting to actually discuss these items in some more depth. And then decide what we want to do with them. Basically, do we want to cover, do we want to follow, do we want to which ones do we want to prioritize? Do we want to send some to the land use technical committee? Do we want to actually have Dennis start drafting legislation on them, whatever we want to do? So go ahead, take it away.
So I just want to preface it by saying that if you remember the tree code work we did, the affordable housing work we did, legislative work is time consuming. And it's important to get it right. We did the film code. I left a couple of things off this list that we'd actually done recently. We did film code. I can't remember what else, but the point is that when I make a list like this, my fear is that you'll basically say, go do all of it now, you know?
Go do all of it now.
And we need to prioritize things, and we can work on it in a way that's paced and sort of set expectations.
Everything will be at the top.
Yeah, everything's at the top. So the first two are land use board review kind of scoping reforms that would reduce the amount of applications needed to be referred to the ARB and the planning board, the building inspector, and we've reviewed this also with Steve Knowlton, the head of our zoning board, and also the chair of the land use technical committee. So those concepts are described there. They're fairly self-explanatory, I think. And of course, the board is always gonna wanna balance streamlining procedures with making sure the community has an opportunity and people are protected in terms of quality of life and so on. So some thoughts going into that. Veterinarian clinics are prohibited under zoning law. They're clumped together with kennels and animal hospitals, so understandably not allowed in the downtown because of kennels. This one simply is saying, maybe we should think about splitting that out so that a person who runs a vet can see dog or cat patients in the
The
downtown.
reason you're saying a guy is because we actually got a request from a guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
That's why you're saying a guy, because there was a guy who actually reached out to us, and said, I want to open a vet
That was
clinic,
my
but I
next
can't.
question, yeah.
I
And
can't.
the cat clinic was run by a woman for many years, so. Where he functions. So there's that one, which I see anyway is a fairly simple tweak, but who knows, maybe we'll get into trouble in some way, it'll be more time consuming. The rooftop dining one is more complicated. Bob Galvin has done a couple of memos on this over the years. I had the opportunity to stand on top of the up lounge recently and was blown away by the view up there. And I'm also frustrated at the fact that the place has been vacant for a long time. I think there are a few other locations where rooftop dining could make sense in terms of distance from nearest residential use and things like that. The village board recently approved it for the M zone up at Nyack Hotel. It seems like it begs the question of maybe for economic development purposes, we should consider it for the downtown. ADUs is actually quite of a complicated one, accessory dwelling units. The board had encouraged the LUTC to work on housing, kind of ways of promoting more housing. And this is one of them that has not been figured out yet. But I guess I'm encouraging you to encourage them to give it another look and try to figure out a way forward. The waterfront district zoning amendment, I understand there might be at least one member of the village board who would like to review that. And that, of course, was a major undertaking back in 2017 with professional consultancies and a change to the zoning code related to the TZ Vista project, which never happened. They keep saying they're gonna bring it back. Their planning board site plan approval expired and the zoning still exists for a project like that. It gives the village board a special permit authority. There's a lot to learn about that I don't yet know or intimately familiar with, but that's a topic on the list here. The moratorium on new construction, I think was also suggested by a member of the board as being worth considering relating to just stopping construction pending some kind of revision to the zoning code.
Of multifamilies, right? It was just multifamily.
Multifamily.
Multifamily, I think it was it just for that upper main area, or was it throughout the village? I forget.
It was, well, in the upper main.
Upper main.
The DMU two.
Right. Right, because there's a couple of older homes on Main Street there that could conceivably be.
That could be torn down.
Like consolidated to a larger lot. So that's one. Short-term rental regulation. There are, I didn't do a real canvas of this, but Airbnb's got about 20 of them in Nyack. They don't pay our hotel bed tax, which is somewhat annoying. They do offer a resource to people who are visiting, which is good for tourism. There's obviously a balancing act here. In some communities with a lot of Airbnbs, they've sought to regulate them in order to protect the housing market from being overwhelmed by short-term rental. And so that's one that the community may want to take a look at. I think the board has talked about that a little bit before and asked the land use technical committee to make some recommendations, but we didn't actually get anywhere on it. Park event permitting. The question of simply having a fee for park event planning purposes and administration of that. The question of allowing vendors in the park, our code prohibits them unless they're the food truck that this board has licensed. We're gonna get back to food trucks soon. I gotta do the annual food truck kind of canvas and licensing. There may be other items in terms of the park code which should be looked at. But those are the two aspects which I kind of wanted to think about together. The it's notable, the African American Day Parade always has a whole bunch of vendors. Which obviously has supported the village board, but it's contrary to our law about vendors in the park, unless each one of those vendors was licensed by this board individually, which is a little cumbersome, which is probably why nobody's ever done it. But we should think about that. And you can imagine a situation where maybe somebody wants to be licensed to do like a yoga class for a fee, like running a business in a park might be appropriate under certain circumstances. Right now it's prohibited. So there's that one. This other one is, I'm just planting the seeds of this is a little ways out. But our second garbage truck will be the next truck to need to be retired in the next year or so. Its replacement will beg the question of new technology, which is typically in some places anyway, have gone to what they call one-arm bandit, which is basically a truck which the driver can operate a robotic arm and grab trash cans without two laborers riding the back of the truck and risking life and limb, jumping on and off, grabbing cans and so on. I was interested to see that West Haverstraw has committed to transitioning to this kind of truck. And for us, if we're gonna look at it, we're gonna have to look at alternate side parking rules. Because, and I haven't researched this yet, but my understanding is the trucks can't grab a can all the way past a parked car. So, if you see what I'm saying, like if you have a car parked in front of your house and you put your can on the sidewalk, it can't reach it.
Oh, okay.
So,
Will this also necessitate new garbage cans?
yes. Yeah,
Well,
So-
we talked about, we probably make a village-wide, we buy all the cans for everybody.
so it's a big policy question. I just put on this list because I'm thinking about it and because we have to plan ahead for something like this. But I'm gonna do research on it. I'm gonna give you a lot more information. I don't want you to try to make up your mind about this right now unless you want to do your own research. Go ahead. But I will provide you with a lot more.
If you're kind of scoring at home, like changing the veterinarian clinics to allow them in the zone to add them as a new category is probably scale 1 to 10 is like a 2. And this one's like a 10, like, yeah.
In terms of how hard it is to figure out.
In terms of the work that's gonna go into it, so,
Yeah,
you know, there's some of these are not scaled, there's some that are fairly, so that's what we wanna have the conversation next meeting. To kind of talk about, you know, because some of these we could put into play right away, some of them we may wanna put off to 25, some of them we wanna look at right now.
I mean, I'm gonna reorganize this into a list of priorities.
When you do send it out.
Yeah, or
When you do send it out.
reorganize it,
so there may be items that we should be on here which are not, and my idea was to try to just sort of establish a policy agenda of sorts.
And then the last one was the parklets, the last two, the parklets, the bump outs, which we have done the last 3 years. It started with COVID. But there's some pushback that we get a little bit from, just in terms of how it makes the streets look, takes away parking spaces. Is it really necessary anymore? That sort of thing, you know?
I guess I would like the board to tell me if you're planning on rescinding that program, because then there's no point in trying to codify it into law. Or if we love it so much, we know we want to do it forever, let's write the law for it.
Because we've never passed a resolution to actually allow it, so it's been done basically ad hoc.
No, we did actually. The village board adopted a,
but not,
program.
a resolution, but we didn't do legislation,
Right.
resolution without legislation, that's what I meant to say. And then the last thing about the noise code,
Noise code is just a one sentence one, which is, it's frustrating because particularly when we get complaints on Main Street, we're left without a very effective enforcement tool.
our noise code requires the use of a piece of equipment that we don't have.
Decibel.
And the police don't have it and they don't train in it, but it's available on your iPhone.
Yeah, you can do reading, in other words,
I didn't mean that as a smart, it's just like, it just.
no, it's like, why do we?
Right,
The
yeah.
code talks about certain kinds of meters, which really aren't the thing anymore, and it's just, it's a little bit hard.
Yeah.
Because we have standards also, which are almost impossible to meet, like the internal vibration standard for someone who lives above a bar is,
You know, like who's
you could only meet it by spending
sound.
maybe $250,000 on your building and noise.
If you could buy a certified calibrated decibel meter, those are available. So these have come with certification.
I know.
The question is, can we
Yeah.
pass a, well, we'll discuss it. Because the idea that we could have somebody out there with a phone use an app that's, that
Right.
we've approved, and the app says, yeah, this is too loud, and then we can issue a citation, rather than we have to
Get
get.
a code officer.
Pull out a
There's
whole
have to be somebody
machine.
else.
There's a
Yeah.
further problem though, which is that the, this is going to Manny, and he'll talk more about this if we get into it, is the compliance with this code for, in certain circumstances, would require hundreds of thousands of dollars of work on a
You
building.
were saying that when I interrupted you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you about that. Yes, the problem is that enforcing the code literally, what we wanna do is we wanna keep people from making really loud noise that, like, on the street, it's like disruptive at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But the way the code reads is that technically, you would fail always, no matter what, if you live in that building. So the people live in the building. But the question is, do we wanna have a code that basically for somebody who lives above, if you rent an apartment above a bar, are you taking a certain assumption of irritation by buying, there's a bar downstairs, they're gonna. So we'll look at all those things, and I think that, I think you should all take a look at the list and, make your own determination as to like, what do you think about this? Something we should take up, something we should put off, something we should prioritize, something we should, right now get done, because it's simple and it's a good idea, whatever. So we'll do that in the 6:30, our next meeting.
Is that gonna be enough time, a workshop to cover all of these?
No.
points?
Then if we don't have it, then we'll just
Start the conversation.
But we can probably get enough of them done. We might have directives from,
Thank you,
we're not gonna
Andy.
decide, we might have directives from them.
It's tough here. I'm like
Can we
excited.
each mark our priorities and then accumulate it, and then you see which ones
Sure.
are the higher ones, and those ones.
Yeah.
You know what, I'll send out I'll send out like some sort of scoring.
You're gonna give us a score sheet.
I'll give you a score sheet, you can score like based on your you can prioritize it, you can, or maybe just put it in one of 3 categories or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's probably just gonna help.
And then we can do it that way, and then and then I'll collate them for the next
Yeah,
meeting.
great, that's very.
That's not a big deal.
This is really good, Andy.
Thanks.
All right, we had, I think we're up to, anything else on new business or old business? All right, communications, we had a application for the senior center use permit. I didn't see the communication. What is it?
It's an application to have I believe it's a baby shower. And she would like to amend it to go till 9:30, so she has an hour to clean up when it's finished.
Do we generally allow private events there?
Yes.
This doesn't come up much.
Yeah, if you're a village resident, you can use it for free at least once a year or something like
Okay.
that.
It is the senior center, right? Okay.
Yep, on Depew.
And it's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Babies, good babies, we need more people in this
Yep.
country. We do, we have to raise the birth rate, so let's incentivize, let's let people know they can have free baby showers in the senior center. That should get the birth rate moving.
I'm out of that.
Yeah, no, not all of us, me
Along with
too.
your child tax credit, you get a free.
Free use of the senior center for your baby shower. Do we need a resolution or we just approve this? We don't have to resolve, this is,
Well, resolution,
You do a verbal.
yeah, we just, everybody okay with that?
yeah.
Ah, yeah, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Cause I don't think this is not like you're using the park, this is, we have the space for that purpose. All right, this is our final session of public comment, we have one yes, go ahead.
Say one thing. Of course, I could respond, I have a comment for each and every one of these things. I think I will just do the noise ordinance. Okay, so I live downtown. Spring will bound soon. Windows will be open. I know we're talking about, there's a discussion about rooftop, this, that, and the other thing. Downtown has anybody been downtown at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning
Mhm.
during the summer?
Yeah.
In the spring? Quiet, isn't it? No, it isn't.
Something like that.
No, it's not.
Depends on the day.
Quiet's
And
not the
if
word.
you live downtown, it's annoying, like even with earplugs, which I wear. It is very, very loud. So, it's just, FYI. You have to call the police and then you have to deal with the police because they say, well, we'll meet you at the, wherever, and of course, you're supposed to get out of, so it's really, I think it should be addressed a little bit more often. Okay? So it's just, as a resident of downtown and
I agree with you 100%. I think it's much too loud. And people, I think we have to
We just get so many complaints.
work on the bar owners being more respectful and on a voluntary basis. And that's why we want to look at the noise code, is to try to make it easier to enforce it and to actually issue citations on it. Rather than have to rely on the police to do it, because they never have the equipment handy, and then they, like you said, it's very complicated for the police to get involved.
no, I understand that. I've been through for years. I've been with the previous attorney and all that stuff, and we have this new, this ordinance, and it's flawed, and, anyway.
Is it generally, which bars are really the problem from your perspective?
It depends on, it's the flavor of the month, really, it's the weather, and of course now, things are quiet,
Yeah,
very quiet.
no one's outside.
So it's, but spring comes, the windows are open.
Yeah,
And not only of the apartments, but, of all the venues. And they're gonna be rather loud. Take a walk down it.
I believe you. No, I know. We
Yeah.
hear a lot of complaints.
I've
I
been
know
down
that.
there.
I trust
I've
the
been
judgment people that bring.
30 years.
Um,
Changes. Okay, good night. Thank you very much. Nice job, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
Very well organized, very articulate.
I never hear that, but thank you.
Well, it was.
I appreciate that, Jack. I very much do.
I didn't say mind saturating, but it was.
Oh, my.
Good night.
Good night, Jack.
All right, since nobody else is here, do we have any other comments from the board? All right, we have to go to
Not for
executive
me.
session, but there's nobody here to throw out. So why don't we take a moment, if anybody sees the restaurant.
Well, should we
And-
vote for executive session first?
Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
Second.
All in favor of the executive session?
Aye.
So now we're in executive session.
Joe, you have to do the motion for the executive session and then the motion to move to executive session. So to have one and then to move
All right,
to.
then when she gets back, we'll go into executive session when she gets back. Now, all we've done now is the motion to have an executive session. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, because they have to, a motion to have.
Create an executive session.
Yeah, and then a motion to move into executive session.
That can't be combined to create and move.
I guess-
Sure, but whatever makes Jen happy.
It's a small change in the format. That's not change, it's actually enforcing what's actually there.
Whatever makes Jen happy, that's what matters.
Not hard, I'm easy.